Oh, it's just I really feel bad for him, because this isn't a guy not trying to play. This is a guy that just
Oh
has
yeah.
really bad luck.
You are Locked On Yankees, your daily New York Yankees podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Yankees, which is part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Download the app or go to FanDuel.com to get started. With me, as usual, my co-host, Brian McKeon. Brian, it's the start of another week.
Yeah, and the Yankees need some ice packs shipped down to Tampa because it is injury haven down there.
Yeah, before we get started, don't forget, subscribe to Locked On Yankees on whichever podcasting platform you prefer. Subscribe to our channel on YouTube, like our videos, hit the bell so you're notified whenever our videos go live. On today's show, Ben Rice showed up to camp looking a little different. We'll talk about what he did. And Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge made their spring debuts over the weekend. We'll discuss their early performances. But first, as Brian said, yes, ice packs, PRP, MRIs. The Yankees need everything because it wouldn't be Yankees spring training without a bunch of injuries because we've gotten to a bunch now. It's not just one.
Yeah, and it's so weird because it feels like this is an on again, off again yearly thing with the Yankees, right? 1 year they basically get out of spring training scot-free with good health, and then another year they get out of spring training with a million injuries. It's like it pops year after year, and I don't know why. I'm going to start off with the second guy that we put down because the first guy I don't think is much of an update, but the second guy I think is a huge update. I don't know if you guys are aware out there, but DJ LeMahieu in his second at-bat had a tightness in his calf, left the game. Aaron Boone, quote, said that the injury is very concerning. So I feel like when a manager gives a quote like that directly out of the gate, before they've done testing, before they've done big analysis on the injury, that means it can't be good. That means it really can't be good. So I don't want to be Mr. Extreme. I don't want to sit here and give you a crazy hot take on DJ LeMahieu or anything, but I'm just going to say how I feel. I think he's done. And I don't think that's crazy for me to say from the reactions that I had coming into the season. I think both of us kind of agreed we'd be shocked if he got out of spring training with the way that he's been. Stacey, it was his second at-bat back. And I know it is borderline laughable. It actually is that he can't stay healthy.
Yeah.
I just career's over. I do. I think he can't stay healthy. He's at the age where he can't stay on the field. It happens. He had a really good career, but I'm sorry, the second at-bat back and you pull it and your calf starts barking up and the manager says it's very concerning. We didn't expect much out of him anyway. And this is why I kind of put a little pressure on them to go after an Arenado, because now I think the Cardinals can say, hey, Yankees, the price just went up a little bit. And that's exactly what's going to happen now. They're going to have to pay more of a premium for Arenado than they would have had to pay a week ago. But I don't think, if I'm too harsh to say it, please call me out and please tell me, because I don't want to sound like the local hothead podcast host that's out here saying that the guy's career is over. But I just don't see how you return from this at this point.
I missed the first 2 or 3 innings of the game because I forgot that the game was going to be on. Yes, I was doing other things and I turned it on and I think I just missed LeMahieu and I thought to myself, or was it the 4th inning? And I thought to myself, wasn't LeMahieu playing? I thought he was supposed to be playing. And then I heard later in the game that he left because of, and I just thought to myself, this poor dude, he came into camp. He said he knew what was at stake. He, spent the offseason getting better and feeling better. And literally the second at bat, come on. Yeah. This is, it's just, I really feel bad for him, because this isn't a guy not trying to play. This is a guy that just has really bad luck. This is just really bad luck for him.
But this is what happens when you're an older player, an aging player, though.
True.
These are the kind of things that happen. And we both kind of said it, though. Like we said this a couple weeks ago, that we both, if he got out of camp, we'd both be surprised.
Yeah.
And he was, there was positive word coming out about his workouts, but I don't know. The problem is with spring training is there can't possibly be cameras everywhere at every moment of guys doing their workouts.
Mhm.
And the information that you have is kind of the information that just gets trickled out of Yankee camp, right? Of the coaches, what they say in their press conferences, what the players are saying. That's really all you get at times. So, Aaron Boone can be coming out there saying that LeMahieu was having great workouts and look great out there, but who does he not say that about?
Right.
So it's like DJ LeMahieu could have not made contact all of spring training, and Aaron Boone would have said the exact same thing. He's seeing the ball great, he's making good contact. Like, that's all he would say anyway. So I don't know how he's looked in camp so far. We haven't really seen a lot of video of him other than him jogging and throwing the ball around, which again doesn't really show much. He finally came back, and in the second at bat, is it devastating? Absolutely. And do I feel bad for the guy? 100%. But I can't sit here and say, oh, well, maybe he'll get healthy and be back in June. You can't keep playing this game, Stacey. You can't keep hoping that the cheating girlfriend's going to come back. It's over. There's no more rebound. I think that, cut costs now, get the salary cap off, and you go after Arenado. I think that's what you have to do at this point.
Yeah. So for now, it's Oswald and Oswaldo, right?
Yeah, and clearly they're not confident with that. Like, they have proven to you coming into spring training that they're not comfortable with that, because they made it a 3-man competition, and the third guy was DJ LeMahieu, who they knew couldn't stay healthy. So clearly they're not comfortable with Oswald and Oswaldo trying to fight it out for who's going to get the third base position. Now,
also,
yeah.
they also put George Lombard Jr. at third the other day. He's a shortstop.
They love him.
He's turning 20 in June, by the way.
That's the problem. Like, are you going to really start the year with a 19-year-old?
Well, no, they're not going to, but it's just interesting that they had him playing third.
But I know what you're saying, though. They're not going to. But, Stacey, like, Aaron Boone's comments, which I don't know if they were earlier today or yesterday, because I saw them today, but they might have been yesterday. He's in love with George Lombard Jr. Like, he loves what he's seeing, the power in his bat, the movement.
Yeah, the organization is in love with that kid. Yeah,
literally are head over heels with him. So,
yep.
I don't know. Like, I can't imagine that he starts the year at the major league roster, but let's be real. They are desperate. They are desperate right now.
I don't think they're that desperate, because his highest level is with the Renegades. That's high A.
No, they're desperate for a third baseman is what I'm saying.
Yeah, but I'm saying that, he's definitely not starting with them. It's going to be Peraza or Oswaldo, or they bring both of them up because Oswaldo can play a number of positions, but so can Peraza. Peraza can play short. You could stick him at second too if you wanted to, and he could play third. So,
well, I think barring a trade at this point, barring them going out and again, it's more difficult to make a third base trade because now everyone knows you're desperate. So now the price is going to go up. Barring if a trade doesn't happen, they're both going to make the roster now because they need one of them to be just a middle infielder that can rotate around for guys to get rest. Yep. So, I think you're expecting Volpe to play 150 games. You're expecting Jazz to play 150 games. But those guys are going to need rest at certain points. Goldschmidt's going to need rest at certain points. Like, they're not going to be able to have them play every single day. Again, you went into the year, though, with a 3-man competition at third base, and there was nobody, from all accounts, I mean, you could tell me if I'm wrong, there was nobody that they were confident enough to name, like, the favorite to get this job. It didn't leak out of the organization. No one reported that a guy was a favorite for the job. So if they weren't confident in one of 3 guys to win the job, including DJ LeMahieu, I can't imagine they're now confident with it being a 2-man job and then who's going to win that one over, right? It feels like they have to go out and make a move for somebody. I don't know who that is, but they can't go into the year with 2 guys that they didn't trust to win the job anyway.
Typical Yankees.
They're not in a good spot. They're not in a good spot, I don't think. The other injury where I think a little bit more positive news that came out, I view it more positive. I don't know if you do. Stanton's injury came out. News came out on he received 2 PRP injections, and he's quote sort of feeling better. That's the news that I've heard out of Stanton's camp. He's still in New York. He's going to make the trip down to spring training. It looks like within a week or 2. He'll be down there doing workouts, not necessarily baseball activities, but working out. He is going to miss opening day, but it doesn't look like he'll be out for an overwhelmingly extended period of time. So I guess if there's a positive outlook, that's the one, right?
Well, the positive outlook is he didn't need surgery.
Yeah. Well, no, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's going to wind up going the entire year with constantly getting injections. I mean, that wouldn't be great. But, if their window is now and he's willing to do that and it's working for him, then fine. I'm glad that he's going back down to spring training and he's back with the team. That'll be a positive outlook. But overall, the injury news has been awful. And I'm going to move the next guy back into segment 2, if you don't mind, because I think that's a little bit of a bigger story that we really need to get into also. But, overall for to start off the show with the injury news, I think they're in trouble at third base. I do. I think they're desperate to make a move, and I think the rest of baseball knows they're desperate to make a move. So that's going to mean it's going to cost them a little more than they wanted to spend. So that's not a good sign to start. And also, the sort of positive news on Stanton, but they're not getting him for opening day. And there's one more guy we got to discuss because it's not good at all.
Yep. Don't forget, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button on our videos, hit the notifications so you know when our videos go up. You can also join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club. The link is in our description. You get texts from us. You can text us questions, comments, reactions to trades, reactions to injuries, because we got some of those this weekend, and signings. We send out lineups during the season, roster moves, breaking news, so you don't have to check social media. There's a 14-day free trial. Coming up, we discuss the injury to LeMahieu. And we also talk about Garrett Cole and Aaron Judge finally making their spring debuts, and we'll let you know how they did.
When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sports book. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game. So even if you miss the opening tip-off or you want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in on the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, you can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. Now, I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. And I'll be at the Ranger game later tonight where I can get on FanDuel, get those same game parlays, get in, and hope that they can beat Nashville because it's a crucial win for the Rangers. And you know that I'll be locked in. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shot at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel. It's an official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Thanks again for making Locked On Yankees your first listen. And remember, every Friday is Fan Mail Friday. You can leave questions under our pinned comment on our YouTube videos Monday through Thursday, or you can join the Locked On Yankees Insiders Club and you get top priority on Fan Mail Friday. The link is in the description. So yeah, let's discuss the LeMahieu news because it's not great. Not, terrible yet, but not great. He felt tightness in his shoulder. He did pitch way more than he ever pitched last year. You could kind of see something coming, in that regard. Like, you knew that this season wouldn't be completely smooth for LeMahieu because he did pitch a lot last season. Did a great job, but I don't know. I kind of saw this coming.
Yeah, I saw this news and quite frankly wasn't very shocked. And I hate that it wasn't, but I wasn't. Not good, obviously. Their rotation, this is an injury they can survive because their rotation's so good. But you wanted to have it fully loaded for the start of the year. Now you're kind of on your hands and knees right now, begging that the injury is not going to come back as Tommy John because he already had Tommy John 2 years ago. It was shoulder tightness, so that's a little different than the elbow. The elbow is Tommy John. But it came in a bullpen, which I think is kind of scary because you're not necessarily going full throttle in a bullpen. Mm-hmm. So if it came in a bullpen, that's not a good sign at all. He hasn't pitched yet this spring. Now, they haven't played a ton of games, but the fact that he hasn't pitched yet, I don't think is a great sign. Maybe this was a lingering injury. For some reason, it's been a theme in baseball this year around the league that guys just don't talk about their injuries if they're feeling something. I don't know why. Maybe they don't want to scare the fans. I don't know why. But this issue happened with the Mets. With it wasn't Montas. It was who's the other guy they signed?
Manaea,
yeah. He came into camp with his injury, an oblique injury, and just didn't tell anyone and just hoped that it was going to get better. And then it didn't. And then he told someone. And I hope that's not what's going on with LeMahieu. But, it looks like now the problem with pitchers, and we discuss this all the time, is in spring training, they're all on regiments. So they work in a program. That's why you didn't see Garrett Cole until Friday, because they work at a certain pace to be able. That's why spring training is so long and much longer than any other, training before a season starts, because pitchers need time to get up to their speed. And LeMahieu was in the process of doing that. And now, even if they shut him down for 2 weeks and get him back out there, which I mean would feel like a blessing at this point, he still has to restart his program at that point. So I think you're definitely missing Luis Gil for the opening 2 or 3 weeks of the season at a bare minimum. Let's hope.
Yeah.
This is a scary one though, because you hear anything shoulder, elbow with a pitcher, and you don't know, especially coming off again, like you said, the by far the largest workload he's ever had in a season, and not a great sign.
Yeah. Marcus Stroman, Will Warren, Carlos Carrasco are in the mix to step in for him if he misses significant time. At the time that we're recording this, Marcus Stroman had given up 2 home runs to the Braves. He was very nice in giving out souvenirs to the fans in his 2 2/3 innings of work on Sunday. So,
who's the favorite to win that job if Luis Gil is not available?
I'm assuming Stroman because
the experience.
The experience and the money.
See, that's but that's what I feel like doesn't make him the favorite, because I think the money is more of a motivator to get rid of
Well,
it.
it's not like it's a favorite. It's like a, what am I looking for?
Well, the favorite to get to win that job. The favorite to now be the number 4 starter.
But not favorite. I'm looking for a different word. It's like, it's not like he's the favorite. It's
Who's
like
next man up.
Yeah, but also I can't think of the word, and I'm really annoyed with my brain right now. Like, it almost feels like it has to be him, like no matter what, because of
I don't
that.
know. See, because I the way I look at it is, with now a hole at third base, now they're more desperate to get rid of that salary. Like now they have to get rid of that Stroman. That's I'm telling you, Stacey, that Stroman contract is not a positive for them. It is really, that's a bad contract. Like $18 million. $18 million for your number 3 starter, number 2 starter is an awesome price. $18 million for a number 4 is crazy. And that's what they're paying a number 4 right now. So that's the problem though, because it does feel like they either want to start Will Warren in the minors just to be able to get him consistent starts and stuff, or B, they might be trying to turn him into a long bullpen kind of guy, like kind of like Michael King was for a while. It feels like they're trying to turn him into that. I don't know which direction they're going to head into. I don't know on Will Warren, but I don't know if you want to throw him in, especially after the way last season was for him, right? He wasn't great last year with the Yankees, the pro level. He didn't really put up great numbers. He never really had any consistency. Do you want to start him off at the major league level and give him a chance to struggle? Or do you want his new and improved stuff to be in the minors, show off a little bit, have good numbers, build his confidence back up, and then come back to the major leagues? So I don't know if that's what they want to do with him. What about Carrasco? He's got the experience, certainly. He's a lot cheaper than Stroman. I'm just trying to weed out what's the best option here.
Well, do you think Will Warren, because he has the experience and it wasn't good, if they build him up during spring training, it's going to be completely different for him to start in the majors this year?
Potentially. I don't know. Like, it depends on how they want to play that, because I do think if you give him, until June, July in the minor leagues and his numbers are outstanding in AAA, well, now he comes into the majors again as a completely different player. Right. Now he comes in very confident with new pitches, a new pitching motion. Like, they've reinvented Will Warren over the offseason. You've heard the story that Matt Blake really got in the lab with him and studied his tape, and they've really invented the kind of pitcher that he is this offseason. And Will Warren, to his credit, really put in the work this offseason. So he's made a lot of progress, and he does have the stuff as a top tier pitcher. They've said that they love him. They love his stuff. So they got to be careful with the way they play this, Stacey, because I don't know if you throw him in the fire immediately, especially, if he struggles his first 3 or 4 starts out of the gate and he's on the major league level, well, his mind's going to go right back to, oh God, here we go again.
Yeah, but the way I see it, they're not expecting him to be the ace. And they wouldn't even expect him to be the number 2 or 3, because you'd have Cole, Rodon, Fried.
That's why this injury feels far less concerning, to be honest. And that's where I think you look at the Max Fried signing, and that's where the importance of that signing comes in. Because you don't make that deal now, then I'm sorry, Luis Gil's your 3 then. He is. And not having this, that they can survive this injury. And again, I'm not saying that I want Luis Gil off for the whole year. Certainly not. But this is a survivable injury for them, because this is the thing that we talked about in the offseason, though. The importance of going out and spending money. And, we heard it from Yankee fans at the start of the offseason is, oh, what are you giving Fried $30 million for? This is because stuff like this happens. And when you have an injury or two, and now your starting staff is just in shambles, that's not a good place to go in. Now Luis Gil gets hurt, and it's like, that stinks, but we can survive it. That's the mindset that you want to have a little more. And I think signing Max Fried gives you that. There'd be a lot more panic in Yankee land right now if they didn't sign Max Fried. A lot more.
Well, this is similar to last year when they lost Cole.
Yeah, very. Very, actually. But, I think Cole meant a lot more, though.
Sure, but
I mean, it
Luis
felt like
Gil.
me, at least, the way I felt when the Cole injury news came down, I thought their season was over.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But they survived that. I think they could survive not having Luis Gil
Yeah.
for however long it is. Speaking of Cole, he made his spring debut. Looked pretty good. 3 1/3 innings, gave up 1 run, had 5 strikeouts. He said he felt good in his performance. He felt good about ending the outing on a strong note with a strikeout. And he looked good to me from what I saw.
Yeah, I mean, he looked like Garrett Cole, which is one of the best pitchers in all of the league. So,
Yeah.
he looked great.
Yeah. I'm happy that he seems to be over the injury
Exactly.
hump of last season. And I love that the guys that they brought in to talk to these guys and work with these guys. You had CC, you had Pettit, Gidry, even Clemens. Like, could you imagine being Garrett Cole and talking to all those guys about pitching? And I say
Be
it
a
all the
fly on the
time.
wall.
Garrett Cole can become like a right-handed Andy Pettit.
100%.
I
100%.
want
He
that.
has that
I
level of
want
talent.
that to happen for him because he's not going to throw 100. He's not going to throw 98 when he's 38 years old. He's going to have to change his game. And I have the feeling that he can be a really crafty because he's a pitcher. He's not a
Yeah.
thrower. He's a pitcher and he loves the game and he loves to study the game. And I really think that he can reinvent himself when the time comes, when his velocity diminishes, and he can become one of those guys that can
again,
actually
I mean,
have a long career.
beyond Andy Pettit, I mean, the guy right in front of him talking to him every day, CC Sabathia.
Yeah.
Like CC, he deserves part of, I think, one of the most impressive parts about his Hall of Fame candidacy is the fact that he completely reinvented himself as a pitcher later on in his career, became a completely different guy. When he came over to the Yankees, he was power, blow it right by you, and then he became a location, inner cutter kind of guy. And who did he learn the cutter from? Andy Pettit.
Yeah.
So, it's true, and you really notice the value in an organization that has a lot of guys like this that stick around, that stay around. But Stacey, like the importance of guys that can teach that, guys like Andy Pettit, guys like CC Sabathia that can kind of really emphasize the, hey, your career is not over when you lose your velocity. You still have the location, you still have the stuff. You can still define yourself as a different kind of player. That extended CC's career by 5 years easily.
Mm-hmm.
So, and Andy Pettit was pitching big games for the Yankees late in his career. So it is true. These guys really have the ability to extend their careers like this.
Yep. And Judge made his debut. He struck out in his first at bat. He was not very happy about that, so he hit an RBI single in a second at bat. He spoke about that with Meredith Marakovitz after the game. She actually brought up the RBI single, and then he said, yeah, and I struck out in the first. She's like, I wasn't going to bring that up, but okay, because he wasn't very happy about that, but it was funny. He seems a little more relaxed. I don't know if it's the baby, which is weird because you would think he'd be a little more stressed having a newborn in the house, but he seems very happy, Aaron Judge. I have a feeling that dad strength might play a role in his 2025.
What the heck does that look like? Dad strength on him is, it's so weird, but I do think that the pressure is all. I think there was a lot of pressure coming into the seasons prior, especially coming off the 62. There was a lot of pressure to keep up those crazy numbers, especially coming off the Rookie of the Year where he hit 50-something home runs is enough pressure, right? And then you have the injury years coming back. There's more pressure. And then you have coming off the 62 year, and there's some pressure on there. Well, Stacey, last year he stayed healthy and hit 57 home runs. And I just feel like he's had so many of these years now where he's got in the 50s of home runs where the pressure's not there anymore. This is the expectation. This is what he does. So I think he can come in a little more relaxed. He's not coming, nothing big. This is the first year that Aaron Judge has not come into camp where there's some big storyline around him. Right? There's no new contract. He's not being named the captain. He didn't just break a baseball record. He just won an MVP like he usually does and came back in and is ready to hit 50 home runs again. So I think there's a little bit more of a relaxation there for him.
I would agree. All right. Coming up next, we're going to talk about Ben Rice, who is competing for the backup catcher's job, but he showed up to camp looking a bit different, and we'll tell you how he looks different.
So, Stacey, you're talking about dad strength in the last episode, and I don't think there's any information on Ben Rice and if he has any children, but he certainly looks like he gained a lot of dad strength this offseason. He came in up 10 pounds of muscle, which is not easy to do in an offseason. You got to remember, baseball's offseason is not as long as the other sports. It's fairly short, right? Especially with the Yankees. They ended in November when Ben Rice doesn't know if he's going to be playing or not, so he's not on a weightlifting regimen mid-season. He would never be doing that. So he really had the rest of November, December, and January to bulk up, if you want to say, and really hit the weights and really hit the protein and all that kind of stuff. And he came in with 10 pounds of muscle added to him. That alone is impressive, no?
Yeah, he joked about how much fun he had eating over the off season to put on the weight, which I could imagine would be fun. I put on weight this off season, but I didn't gain 10 pounds of muscle.
Yeah, and I did it by eating too, but I didn't. It didn't translate to muscle.
No, not at all. He does. You could see it in his body, physique. Like in his physique, especially here. I noticed it the other day when he was in the dugout. I was like, oh, wow. Because I talked about this on the show. Ben Rice is 25 years old, but he has the face of like a 14-year-old on the body of a 25-year-old. And it kind of freaks me out every time I see him because he's one of those guys too. Like he has a young face and he has a young smile. Like he smiles with all his teeth. He just looks like a younger person. So when I saw him all beefed, I was like, oh, wow, that's all right. That's pretty jarring. Okay.
That's not the reaction that I had personally, but I get where you're coming from.
You know what I mean? Like it's just like
he is a bigger dude.
Okay. Yeah, like wow, look at Ben Rice. Like that's, and like you said, that is not a lot of time to do what he did.
No, that's the crazy part.
When you think about like December, like a lot of people are like, okay, it's December, it's the holidays, I can get away with. Like even baseball players probably like, all right, I'm gonna give myself like 2 weeks to, celebrate the holidays, do whatever I feel like doing. So even if you cut that period of time out too, that was not a lot of time for him to do that. It's impressive.
No, he stayed dedicated clearly this offseason because that is. And I'm impressed by a player who does that too, because we all witnessed it. Ben Rice was not necessarily impressing everybody that was out there with his play. Now, he came in and looked awesome with the 3 home runs and everything like that. But after a while, a lot of people around Major League Baseball figured him out pretty quickly. And I don't think a lot of Yankee fans were too keen of him. But Stacey, he came into camp this year trying to win a backup catcher job, by the way, changing like positions from where he was last year, realizing that's where he fits on this roster. So I'm going to try and win a job there than try to be a first baseman.
Well, that's a stronger position.
Yeah.
That's a stronger position anyway.
But still staying at your stronger position, but alternating between two positions and stuff, not really knowing where your career is going, doing whatever it takes to make the roster, putting on the muscle. He's put in the work this offseason. So I think that, we came into the season saying to each other, I don't know if he makes the roster. Now he should, but we didn't know. You didn't know if he was going to make the roster or not. It didn't feel like a guarantee that Ben Rice was going to be on the Major League roster. Now it does. Now it feels like he's going to make the roster somehow, some way. He's added power to his bat. He's added, he's put on weight to the position that he plays and stuff, which I think lends a little better to being a catcher. I love what he's done. I really do. I think he's had an impressive offseason for them. And you got to be proud of a player like that, right? Again, hit under 200 last year at the Major League level and came back like, I don't care. I'm just going to come back and make the roster again. So you got to feel good about a player like that.
Yeah, he made a challenge on Saturday when Boone was being interviewed by Yes, and he won the challenge. I believe Yendrys Gomez was pitching, and the umpire called it a ball. And then when ABS flashed it up on the screen, it was a strike. It was right in the top corner of the strike zone. And Boone was like, nice call, Benny. Just really like, all right, nice job. Like, good for you. But I love Ben Rice, backup catcher. I think that it would be such a good thing for him because it's not a lot of pressure.
No.
You don't have to hit 300 as a backup catcher. I mean, it'd be nice if you did, but what backup catcher does? But if you have him giving Austin Wells time to rest and you pair those two up, I love what I'm seeing out of the catching position already.
It's interesting too, because I mean, like you stated, you're not really asking that much out of Ben Rice. Like Austin Wells is going to be the starting catcher, and they're gonna have him catch 120, 115 games. Like, he's going to be out there a majority. Austin Wells is not old, right? He's a younger guy who's got the stamina to be playing a lot. I think a lot of people see,
they're around the same age, yeah.
A lot of people see a big season coming out of Austin Wells. So, there really is not a ton of pressure on Ben Rice at all, which I think is the spot that you want to be in if you're him.
Yep.
Right? It gets him a spot on the major league roster. No one's really talking about him. That's where you want to be at his position right now.
Because I spoke about this the other day. He was replacing Anthony Rizzo, who was hurt. They kind of like thrust him into that position, which wasn't really fair because they weren't really expecting to have to do that with Ben Rice. And I feel it was the same thing with Will Warren. Like, they had to put him out also. So I think these two guys are coming into this with completely different mindsets. They have the experience behind them. And I think it's better for a player when their experience isn't that great because it gives them more motivation to want to prove people wrong. And I think both Will Warren and Ben Rice have made strides this offseason to make sure that they prove people wrong. And it's not going to be a lot of pressure for Ben Rice because he's going to be a backup catcher more than likely. And I think with Will Warren, it's the same thing. They're not expecting him to be the ace or the 2 or the 3 or even the 4 because you have Clark Schmidt in front of him. So I really have a good feeling about these two. I don't want to jinx them, but I really have a good feeling about both of them. Do I expect Will Warren to come out and win the Cy Young? No, but I do expect him to be better than he was in 2024.
Nothing scarier than a motivated athlete that a motivated athlete trying to prove something. Mm-hmm. So I think they're both in really good spots.
Yep. Thank you for making Locked On Yankees your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Fantasy Baseball with hosts Dominic Martino and Matthew on A. MLB fantasy draft season is here. Be the most informed fan and set yourself up for a league win. Find Locked On Fantasy Baseball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. Do you do fantasy baseball?
I don't know. I've only tried fantasy football and I'm terrible at it.
Yeah, see, both fantasy baseball and football.
But listen to the show. Don't listen to us. Listen to the show. Listen to the fantasy baseball show.
Yeah, if you do fantasy baseball, listen to them. And I think maybe, you know what? Maybe I will do fantasy baseball because I'll listen to them. They'll give me advice and I won't forget after 3 weeks that I have a fantasy baseball team because that's usually what happens. So that'll do it for this edition of Locked On Yankees. I'm Stacey Gotsoulias.
And I'm Brian McKeon. We'll catch you later.